Hello and welcome. This is Zaccardi. This will be a presentation on project management. This is week 4 of the Masters in Technology Management Capstone. The learning objectives this week will be an overview of project management, a discussion on project constraints, and an overview of agile and waterfall project methodologies. So what is project management? For this, you really need to start with what is a project. And a project is temporary in that it has a defined beginning and end in time and therefore defined scope and resources. So now what is project management? Project management then is the application of knowledge, skills, tools, and techniques to project activities to meet the project requirements. I do want to reference the PMI, so the Project Management Institute, a guide to the project management body of knowledge, also referred to as PMBOK, is a standard way of managing projects. They have a great website here too that I referenced, www.pmi.org. Definitely check it out. There's a lot more information there. It's a really great organization. So to continue the overview, project management processes fall into 5 groups: initiating, planning, executing, monitoring and controlling, and closing. So you're initiating, that's really where you define your project. The planning is, yeah, I know that's really descriptive. Detailed planning, it's really the organization where some of your constraints are defined with regards to timing, cost, the what you're going to do or the scope. The execution, that is your design period, your build period, as well as potentially testing. And these are specifically if you're following a waterfall methodology. The closing is post-implementation review. It also ties into your warranty period or your support period right after you deploy. And then over all of those 4 areas, you have your monitoring and controlling, which are your project key performance indicators around the project, including status reports. All right, now this is a bit of a busy slide, but I added it that way on purpose. Project management from a knowledge standpoint, it's really complex. There's 10 different core categories: integration, scope, time, cost, quality, HR, human resources, communication, risk, procurement, and stakeholders. All of these different areas or categories affect a project and the project management associated with that. I'm not going to cover all of these over the next couple weeks. We'll be going into these areas. However, as it pertains to our project constraints, we'll cover in just a few minutes, scope, time, cost, and quality are key factors here. So your scope is the what you do for a project, what the requirements are, what you're producing. Time seems pretty self-explanatory, but that's the when you're going to complete it. And cost is how much are things going to cost. So you're estimating, budgeting, funding, resourcing, all the costs associated with that hardware, software when it comes into the IT arena. And then those 3 items really tie into the quality of the product that you're delivering. So from past presentations, you probably all know that I love graphics. I like how this ties everything together. So you see the different areas: the initiate, the plan, the monitor, execute, close phases or processes. Over here you have the 10 areas of knowledge. So these areas of knowledge feed into the processes. Last item that we're not going to cover today, but it's just a reference, is project tools. Once again, we'll be covering this later in the course, but it ties to the different project artifacts, templates, project plans, Gantt charts, fishbone diagrams, PERT diagrams, and the different software that you can use to help you manage a project. Artifacts and documentation are crucial to ensuring that all of these phases and processes follow and help you execute your plan. So some of the benefits of project management, and some of these definitely seem obvious, but from a control standpoint, you can control financial, physical, and human resources. It improves customer service. So project management, because you're delivering projects on time and within budget, as well as with high quality customer service, you're delivering to the business what they want. Shorter development times, lower cost, high quality, increased reliability, improved productivity. For example, a project plan ties into efficient management of resources as well as tasks and scope associated with the project. Better internal coordination. So from a communication standpoint, the structure around project management, defining stakeholders and a clear communication plan also helps with really delivering messages to your organization to support your business. And then higher worker morale. When the project team understands and accepts that we have everything under control, they're less stressed. They understand when their deliverables are needed by, and that's just an overall better work environment. So project constraints. The dreaded triple constraint, or iron triangle, sometimes as it's referred to: cost, time, and scope. A past employee also references this as the triangle of death. I think that's a little dramatic, but the reason he said that was because adjusting cost, time, or scope directly impact each other. So they are a triangle, and if you increase the lines on either of those variables, it affects the other variables. So projects need to be delivered within cost, on time, and to the agreed upon scope. And those three constraints tie into quality. Included a graphic here. I actually like that it was a recyclable symbol. Scope, cost, and time, with quality in the middle, being those three factors directly correlate to a high quality product or a low quality product. So if you, for example, decrease cost and decrease time, but you're increasing scope, that will directly affect the quality of the product. So waterfall and agile methodologies. Waterfall is a linear approach to project management. It's a sequence of events. You can almost think of it as a timeline. An example would be a normal software development lifecycle, where you would go planning, requirements, design, build, test, user acceptance testing, and then deployment. It's very common in hardware projects in IT, where you're building, for example, an infrastructure, a server infrastructure. You many times would follow a waterfall methodology. Agile is an iterative approach. So this focuses on delivering smaller chunks of scope in a more rapid fashion. It's delivered in iterations or sprints. The iterations or sprints are usually 2 weeks in duration. I've seen them up to a month in duration. A month gets a little long. That almost feels like a project to me. But generally, it's about 2 weeks. The last bullet there is fairly crucial, where the business defines the priority of the scope and helps build the content of the sprints. So they'll define what the priorities are, and then the project management team, will determine when they're delivered. I know there's a lot of information on this screen, but I love graphics, and I thought this was a great representation comparing Agile versus Waterfall. A couple points here. The third bullet, also defined as red tape. So there's minimal paperwork in an Agile methodology. Sometimes there's a lot of documentation in Waterfall or red tape. A few other items are collaboration. So Agile methodology has a lot of collaboration. You're working with the business. The business approves the sprints after that 2-week duration, whereas with Waterfall, the teams work in turns, and what that could happen is the business sometimes doesn't have visibility to the project until late in the project. So moving on, some Waterfall methodology, pros and cons. Delivery date is known, which is great for Waterfall. However, there's little to no flexibility in Waterfall. With Agile methodology, it's fast, so it's a speed methodology. You're delivering product much faster. However, sometimes the costs fluctuate. So to tie back the triple constraints, you can see I focused on quality as well as time and cost here with regards to some of the. This is just a fun graphic. You know, my old boss used to say, if you don't laugh, if you don't laugh, you're going to cry. But so the waterfall process, to me, in my experience, has sometimes felt like the image on the left. This project is so big. Oh my God, I don't know if we're going to be able to deliver it. Where in an agile process, because you're delivering it in small chunks, you're making progress every 2 to 4 weeks. You're taking those chunks and you're delivering it in smaller bite-sized sections. The overall team morale is usually much more positive, and Agile has definitely been much more helpful from a software or application development deployment pattern for me. So some questions for this week. In your experience, which constraint do you think is the most difficult to manage? Why do you think that way? What types of projects do you think would be managed more efficiently by an agile methodology? Give an example, a past work example, or just make one up. And then which industry do you think benefits from a waterfall project methodology, and explain your answer. So I work in healthcare, like I said, software. Agile is definitely much more prevalent, but maybe in construction, a waterfall methodology might be the better format. I have a bunch of references this week. I'm not going to go through. I will also list them out on the discussion board, but thank you and have a great week.